So as we know, there's been a vast array of strikes across the country, workers standing up and fighting for what they believe they deserve and what they think is right. And More Perfect Union has come out and they have new information that shows that the voters who Democrats covet are cheering on the strike wave. So basically the voters that Democrats failed to reach out to and failed to get the support of overwhelmingly support these strikes that are going on and unions in general. This is very interesting, and it really tells you a lot. Again, this is an article from More Perfect Union that details the following. The same voters that Democrats have been struggling to win over and energize in recent elections, low-income and non-college educated Americans are among the strongest supporters of unions and the current wave of labor strikes, according to a new poll. More Perfect Union and Blue Rose Research ran a national survey of 2,450 voters from October 18th to October 24th to access voters' attitudes towards organized labor strikes. Majority of Americans said they view labor unions favorably, 58%, would support unions at their place of work, 54%, and agree that the current strike wave is long overdue, 53%. Thousands of workers are currently on strike across the country, including 10,000 John Deere workers in Iowa and Illinois, and 1,400 Kellogg's workers in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nebraska, and Tennessee. The poll found that while majorities of Americans at every income level said they support having a union at their workplace, the strongest support came from, get this, Americans who make less than $25,000 a year, 58%, and between $25,000 and $50,000, 57%. Among the wealthiest respondents, those making more than $150K a year, a smaller majority, still a majority, 52% support a union at their workplace. Similarly, while majorities at every education level said they want a union at the workplace, support was the strongest, fully 60% among people with less than a high school education. In 2020, Donald Trump won voters with a high school education or less by 15 points. Low-income workers were also more likely to support worker-led strikes at their job. 52% of Americans making less than $25K a year said they would support a strike at their job, as did 54% of people making $25 to $50K. Similarly, a clear majority of people making under $100K per year agreed that the strike wave is long overdue and benefits wages and working conditions. Just 49% of people making more than $150K a year agreed with that statement. So what I want to do is I just want to discuss very quickly about what this means. So these are people, regular working Americans that have a normal job, you know, your everyday Joe and Sally or whatever. They have a lot of empathy and sympathy for their fellow Americans. And they support their fellow Americans as it pertains to living a prosperous life and being represented by a union which would benefit them. You see, it's a really different message than what you receive, not only from the media, but from the politicians. You see, they try to spin you this narrative that, oh, America, you know, it's 50-50 and we're split and we all hate each other. And, you know, either you're a Democrat or a Republican or you're somewhere in between, when that's not really the case. And we see it on the polling of incredibly popular ideas, such as Medicare for all. Vast majority of people in this country support Medicare for all. Why? Because not only do they want health care, but they want their neighbors to have health care. Vast majority of people in this country support a higher minimum wage. Why? Not only because they want to make more, they want their neighbors to make more. People care about each other. They want people to be represented by a union. They see these striking workers that are trying to get better, and they support them. Why? Because if they were in that position, they would want their support as well. This isn't a difficult issue. And all the Democrats would have to do is lean into this and actually support these people, these strikers, these support unions. But they're not doing so. The PRO Act that they brought up earlier in the year has come and gone. You don't even hear about it anymore. And that would be incredible in helping actually incentivizing unionization. And they can ride that wave. But they've deterred so far from the party of the working class, from the party of average Americans in general, that they're a former shell of themselves and they're frauds and nobody trusts them anymore because they're bought and owned by corporations, as is the Republicans. So, you know, nothing they say holds any kind of weight. But this right here just shows you that the people aren't really as divided as people may think. Now, on certain issues, culture war issues and what have you, yeah, sure, there are more divisive concepts and things can get a little bit muddy, but let's not focus on that in this video. Let's focus on the economics, what, materially affects your life. People are pretty much in lockstep with each other. Like, yeah, I want my neighbor to do well. I want those people working at that factory down there that manufacture goods that I may purchase do well. I want the people working at my local grocery store to have a union. I want them to be represented by somebody. That's the sentiment among the American people. But the politicians and the media will have you to think otherwise, and you just flat out shouldn't believe it because it's not the truth. But this is amazing information. It really just tells you what you kind of already figured. Okay, Americans do support each other. Okay, but of course, the media and the politicians wouldn't have you think that. They want you to think that everything is just some battle royale and it's Democratic versus Republican, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And the funny thing is, a lot of these people, a lot of these striking workers right now, they don't really have a political opinion. They don't really swing Democratic or Republican. They just want to live a good life. That's really it. And so they realize that, oh, I might be unionized and the union helps me and they support me. So they may support unions, but just because you support unions don't mean you're a Democrat or a Republican. You just want to make good money and live a life that can satisfy you. So a lot of these people really are, maybe even be apolitical, but that's the beauty of it. And so you should reach out to these people and try to, get them to support you, because if you support them, then of course they'll support you because they're receiving something from you, but they aren't right now. And that's incredibly sad, and it has to change, and hopefully it does.